Hey, you like cars? We're back again. You know what time it is. You know what we're here to do. So welcome. If you haven't been here before, if you're just catching on to what I've been doing, I want to welcome you. I want to welcome you to episode 99 of the CarQuicks Podcast. So if you're just tuning in, you're probably thinking, I missed a lot. And you did. But you know what? Better late than never, okay? And now you're here. So, welcome. How are you doing? How are you feeling? How are your friends, your family, your children, your loved ones? How are things aligned with you in life? How are the prayers going? How are things going along with everything in your life? Hopefully it's going well. As I say every single week, that it's going well. Even with the problems we may have in life, we just get right over them. Strengthen ourselves up. We get past that. And then today, when you listen to this, whatever day it may be, whatever day you might be listening to this podcast, is the day we come to congregate, to talk about some cars, to talk about what we love, and to just throw my opinions out there, okay? And you might have opinions back. I get really good comments from people that have opinions on what I say. They disagree, they agree. It's all good. That's the whole point of the conversation. I like to have good debates about cars, even if you think otherwise of what I might think. That's the whole point of having good conversation. We don't always have to agree on every single thing. And so to drive right into some of the news, let's talk about Ford. So, and it's nothing bad. Normally Ford in the news recently has been nothing but recalls and this isn't working and that isn't working. But they've had a couple things that have been exciting. Mustang GTD, regardless of whatever it costs. You know, speaking of the cost, we're going to add that into this. They actually showed the full starting price is like $327,000 and some change for a Mustang GTD. Yes, it's highly expensive, but I never get caught up in those prices because honestly, I ain't in that tax bracket. So it don't even really matter. I could argue what you could get for $300,000, but I also could argue whoever has that much money to set aside for a car may already have everything else that we're just going to name, McLarens and Ferraris and Porsches and anything else. They probably may already have that, know about it, can get it if they want to, and have decided they're going to go get a GTD instead. But that's not the car we're talking about. We're actually talking about something that's more pedestrian, come down to our level. We're talking about the F-150. So Ford is actually making a version of the F-150 that's like street truck inspired, called the Lobo. If that name sounds familiar, it's because they put that same name on the Maverick. And if you remember from this picture, the Maverick was the same style. Low sitting, street truck style, kind of aero disc, flat face wheels on it, couple little sport oriented options on the interior, things on the outside as far as colors, blacked out trims, blacked out grills, different lighting, LEDs, the same thing that they're doing on the F-150. And I welcome it, honestly. Now, I know this isn't the days of the GMC Cyclone and all those other things that we have always wanted. No, it's not an F-150 Lightning, the previous one, not the current one now. Yes, we still have Raptors, but that's off-road. So the day of the street truck, like the Ram SRT 10, like the true high-performance street truck, hasn't really been around. We got high-performance off-road trucks. That's what we went to. We went from the street trucks to TRXs and F-150 Raptors. That's what we went. We went to the off-road street truck as opposed to more that has like street-driven tires and wheels. So Ford is trying to bring that back. I don't know if they're ever going to get to the levels we were at previously, but something's better than nothing. So let's talk about what they've done. So it starts off with the XXT trim. As you can see here, it's pretty much blacked out with the one that they show, but there are other colors, and we'll get to that in a second. The standard 2.7-liter EcoBoost V6 is out of there. In place is a 5-liter V8, making 400 horsepower, 410 foot-pounds of torque, pound-feet of torque. Now, I did hear some things online. I heard a couple comments and saw some people saying it could be more power. Why isn't it more? I mean, there's always room for more. There's always room for more power when it comes to a V8. I do think that they're trying to strike some balance in between what is already on the assembly line, keeping the price point where they need it to be or where they want it to be, and just making something that's accessible to all the buyers that are there. I know they could possibly make a 500 horsepower one or 600 or 700 or whatever it may be, but then we're start talking about $90,000, $100,000 street trucks, and I think they may be trying to see, what does the market do? Do y'all like this lower spec one? Do we have room to go a little bit higher? You got to kind of first just test the water, see what we're looking like. So 400 horsepower, 410 pound-feet of torque. Exterior has some fairly big changes. So there's a 10-piece, and you could, from this picture, it's going to be kind of hard to kind of tell if you're looking at the audio or if you're looking at the video, I mean. And again, if you're not subscribing to the YouTube channel, and if you're not subscribing to Spotify to follow the video format of this podcast, you're missing out. So on this truck, and it's kind of hard to see because it's fairly subtle, is there's a 10-piece body kit they set on it. I didn't look at all the pieces. There's front fascia, lower valance area. You got side skirts. You got the rear trim pieces as well. I think there was something on the truck lid. I don't know because I wasn't looking at it right now. But actually, let me just check out these pictures real quick to see if there was something on there, because I was trying to figure out where those 10 pieces were coming from. And I think it's, front fascia, side skirts, kind of something on like the door panels itself to kind of add some muscle to it, so to speak, and something on the rear too. But it's a 10-piece aero kit, body kit on it. It has unique grills on it, totally redesigned. It has these LED lights that are inside of the grill itself that's unique to the Lobo. There's a dual exhaust setup. There are 22-inch gloss black wheels, and you can get it in a set of colors that are special to this model. So you got Agate black metallic, Atlas blue metallic, carbonized gray, Oxford white, rapid red metallic tinted clear coat. Probably the one that cost the most because they put the most names on that color. Rapid red metallic tinted clear coat. That's a lot just to say red. So you have those colors. The interior, they didn't get too crazy on the interior. What they did say it has is what Ford calls unique sport cloth. And I'll just come out and say cloth seats. Okay, that's what you got. You don't get leather. It isn't anything that's like, there isn't any sport related seats. There's nothing that changes up there, but you do get a 12-inch infotainment screen that has Ford Sync 4 on it. So you still get the same creature comforts. No, we're not getting Super Cruise and all those things that come into the high platinum and whatever versions they have, the truck 1984 Texas edition or whatever one they have. We're just going to kind of keep it fairly basic on the interior. The cloth interior doesn't look bad. It does look clean. It's fairly just kind of blacked out on the interior. So I guess you could say that most of the intention is going to the outside and giving you that option of that motor in a trim that normally doesn't have it. So what would all this cost? So MSRP is $57,800 with a destination charge of $2,195. Let's just go ahead and say $60,000. That's a lot. That's a lot of money for the Lobo. But I guess in this market, when you're talking about Silverados and Ram trucks with this type of engine, similar horsepower, give or take 10 or 20 horsepower across that range, they all cost similar amounts of money. Now, if you can get an SXT for about almost $5,000 less, because this Lobo package is about that much on top of whatever the XXT trim is. So if you're coming in at high 40s, low 50s, and consider this particular package on top of it and how much it's going to cost if you want to have a street truck look and a stance. And it does look cool. It doesn't look bad. It has the right stance. It's lower 2 inches in the rear to match up to give you that kind of low street truck look. You get the interior, you get the exterior colors, you at least get like a body kit on. I will give them that. They didn't just throw grills on this and black out the trim and say, hey, you got a street truck version. At least you do have something that visually does look much different than what it was before. So I can dig it. I mean, if I was going to go get an F-150 and I wanted something fairly sporty and I wasn't looking to off-road like a Raptor or anything like that, this is a viable option. I mean, it still does cost $60,000 plus whatever you got to deal with, interest rates and all that. So it isn't like it's the cheapest thing in the world. But when you're looking at it, your options in this realm are fairly low. Though, honestly, if I was thinking for myself and I wanted to get a truck, I would highly consider the Maverick just because of a price point over this for getting the same type of look that I was trying to go for, kind of like small street truck type of things. So F-150 is coming out with the Lobo version. If you want to just look sporty, if you want to be on the street and not have something that's more off-roady looking, but more street related, you get a lower, ride height. It doesn't have any sport tune handling. You do get the V8 motor in this, so you got good power. 400 is enough for this truck. And it's all going to be in a crew cab. All of them the body model is a crew cab on this. So you can fit everybody, put everybody in there. You can haul stuff if you want. You can put stuff in the bed. So it's still a utilitarian vehicle. You still can put things inside of the truck. Now, continuing on with talking about some trucks, we're going to talk about something that the name hasn't been around forever, and it's from Subaru. Subaru is bringing back the BRAT. BRAT, B-R-A-T. If you don't know what that stands for, it's Buy, Drive, Recreational, All-Terrain Transporter. Okay, that came out in about 1978, 1985 to like 86, 87, somewhere around that range. That's how long the BRAT had come out. It was a small truck. I'm going to show you a picture of it, the old school one. They have a funky look. They look cool. They were like this small compact truck that had utility you needed without being full size. We've talked about this before in this podcast. I've talked about there being a market where the Maverick, I just talked about it, sits. The Maverick sits in this kind of small compact truck segment where like the Hyundai Santa Cruz sits as well. The Toyota Tacoma has moved up to midsize, similar to like the Ford Ranger or the Colorado. Those trucks have moved up to midsize because trucks have gotten so large. It's like whatever used to be midsize has now become large, and full size has become extreme, and so on and so forth. So there's this market for small trucks that is kind of brewing up. A lot of companies, Maverick sales have proven that there's a market for it. The Santa Cruz sales have proven there's a market for it. So companies like Subaru are starting to look at what's going on and how can we enter into that market, but they're teaming up with somebody. And it won't be a surprise, it's Toyota. So Toyota and Subaru have been teaming up for a variety of cars. The BZ4, or it's called BZ now, was same underpinnings as the Solterra from Subaru, which is their electric SUV. Then they teamed up with the BRZ and the GR86 as far as Subaru supplying the motor, Toyota doing some tuning, some chassis stuff, and now we have these two small sport compact two-door cars that are loved, crazy aftermarket, racing pedigree they use in many racing circuits and all those type of things. So they're back again, and they're back again on the small truck. However, before we just jump out with the round of applause and say this is exactly what we all wanted, there are a couple things to understand and know where this is going to fall off. Not fall off, but where is it going to fall? It's going to be electric, according to the rumors and stuff that I'm reading. Now, this is a surprise to me because when I was reading about Toyota entering into this small compact truck market, I immediately was like, they're going to put in one of their 4-cylinder hybrid motors similar to what Ford did on the Maverick, and we're going to have that Toyota hybrid reliability and quality in a small compact truck. However, I think it's changing. I think what's rumor is from Subaru and what they're working on, Subaru said that this is an electric truck that they're working on with Toyota. If Toyota and Subaru are working on the same thing, then it's going to probably fall in line with their electric SUV, the Solterra and the BZ, both being electric, both sharing a drivetrain. I don't assume that Toyota's going to go ahead and put their own hybrid engine in there and leave just Subaru over there with an electric one if they're trying to collaborate and spread out the cost. So let's just assume, right? So small compact truck, we don't know what it looks like. This is just a rumor mill, or let's say this teaser sneak peek news cycle is telling you that, hey, Subaru's coming back with the BRAT. They're going to do this with it. They're bringing this back as well. And Toyota's working on something small too. And they have said this before. Toyota's own CEO or their chief designer or chief product person has spoken about, we're looking strongly at the Maverick market, and not in a way of like, let's see, we're coming to enter it. Here's what I'll say though. I know for certain, if this does come out as full electric, and I'm not against electric trucks, I literally just had a whole podcast talking about the Slate truck. I think electric small trucks are awesome. I think electric cars can be awesome as well. We got another one to talk about this podcast as well as when I get to it. So I'm not against electric cars. I'm a proponent of electric cars and where they match and where they sit. But I am more so about options for consumers for the needs of what the market is asking for. So here's my critique, or here's my little bit of my other side of the fence as far as my opinion goes on this idea of Subaru and Toyota making a small electric pickup truck. I would say that it needs to have a gas-powered version too. And I know that's impossible to try to it's probably impossible to justify having both electric and a gas-powered version of a small truck when trying to enter a new market because of how much it would cost to manufacture both options and market both options and then supply dealerships with both options. You got to pick one. I wouldn't be surprised they lean more towards the electric side, considering that nobody has done a small electric pickup truck. The Slate truck just got announced to massive fanfare. So if you're trying to be ahead of the curve, if you're trying to be a leader in an industry, then if you're paid attention to what they did and how much news press they got and said, if we can beat them to it on a mass production scale, then that might be something that we're going to go for. I don't know how much it will cost. Can they get it? I mean, the Slate truck was known for its headlines because of how cheap it was, under $20,000 or $25,000. Can Toyota get to that number? I don't necessarily think so. They may not even want to. They might want to try to just be under 30 or between 30 and 35, just kind of in this like small, in that same range as like the Maverick, same range as the Santa Cruz from Hyundai. But I do think that when this does come to fruition, and if it is electric, the noise is going to be strictly on the fact that there isn't a gas-powered one because people want it from these companies, especially if you bring back the BRAT name. That is something I've said in the past where I've said leave some of these legacy names where they are, because as soon as you bring them in, you are immediately left with the historical nature of it, people wanting something to bring back that same feeling, and then being disappointed when it's something completely opposite. So similar to like Ford and the Lightning. The Ford Lightning name is known for a supercharged V8 performance pickup truck. When they put it on the electric truck, of course, Lightning electricity makes perfect sense, but that's not where they started. And so people are still upset about the fact that they use that name on an electric truck. Subaru BRAT has probably its niche fan base that still holds on to those old trucks from many years ago. So they may not have to deal with so much of it because it's been such a long time since you saw that name, and some people probably don't even know what it stands for or what it means or where it came from. I don't know how you can market BRAT as opposed to just pulling in from the nostalgia, like pulling in the old truck in a commercial because the name is funny. So if you pull in a truck from the old name and kind of explain what's going on, then people will be like, oh, I get what you're doing. But I just know that when people have been clamoring for small size trucks and asking about where are our options, where are our under $35,000, $30,000 trucks, I do know there's going to be a lot of pushback if it's only an electric option because of what it does for the consumer and how they have to then manage how they're going to utilize it in their life. Electric cars and trucks and all of that, to me, will make it to the point when we start focusing on the infrastructure instead of focusing on making all these different cars. The cars are great. It's fine. It makes sense. But if there's nothing to back it up, if the best charging station situation is still Tesla, if they're still the leader in America as far as charging, and we still have all these other companies trying to figure out where they can get grants and contracts and build their stations. And when I said before is when it gets to the point of being like your normal gas station, your Valero, your Shell, your whatever it may be, wherever you go to get gas, the ease of which you know to get to a gas station is the ease of which we need to be able to get to an electric charging station that is high speed, that it gives us the ability to charge and go at the pace that we have been used to getting gas. When that happens, it's off to the races. It's off to the, I always stand on that. I will bet on that, saying it's off to the races when we get to that point. We just got a bunch of electric cars and the infrastructure is still left to, does it have a Tesla charging port or adapter? Because that's still the best options. And if you don't live near one of them, it kills this idea altogether. So that's what I think would kind of hold back the success of both Subaru and Toyota if they're both working on an electric pickup truck, not giving an ICE or gas power one. I would honestly say it should have just been gas power from the onset and a hybrid, because there's nothing wrong with hybrid. I think it also walks us down that line, slow walks us to that point of a full electric one. I don't know if Subaru has a hybrid platform. I can't remember off the top of my head while I'm talking right now, but we know Toyota does. And if Toyota was going to supply an engine or something back and forth and go like Subaru did with the Boxer engine, then go ahead and supply them the 4-cylinder hybrid powertrain that you got plenty of into these trucks. We'll see what they do. We don't know what they look like. We don't even know if it's actually going to be what I'm hearing, the rumors and what they're talking about. But Subaru, if they're coming back with this and they're collaborating with Toyota, I wouldn't be surprised if it is all electric. And that's just what it is. That's just what they're working on. Now, getting into some other, just a quick little news. And I'm actually doing this fairly early. When I'm recording this, it is on a Sunday. By Tuesday, I may have to do a special emergency podcast during the middle of the week, which would technically be the 100th episode, but not really the 100th. So I don't know how I'm going to do this, but Chevrolet teased something that's happening on Tuesday the 17th. Now, I tried to kind of wait to record this, but it had been long enough during my normal schedule, and I wanted to get up here and talk to the people. So they're saying that on the 17th, Chevrolet Corvette is going to make an announcement. I have no idea what it's going to be, but let's just have some fun. Most likely, if I was going to say what it could be, I would say it's going to be a Zora. I don't know what other Corvette they have in the stash. The Zora is the only one that's been running around on Nürburgring with different little aero treatments and things like that. And all the rumors have said to this being a hybrid powertrain on the same twin turbo one that's in the ZR1. And they're talking about 1,200 horsepower, 1,300. I saw something saying about 1,500, which would be absurdity on the highest of levels. So I think it's a Zora. I don't know of anything else they got, unless they come out with a ZR1 RS kind of vehicle, like one that drops weight, adds more aero, maybe more power, but is more track focused. But they already had those track packages for the ZR1. So I'm really leaning towards this being the Zora. If it is the Zora, I'll be back here to talk to y'all about what it's going to be and how crazy it's going to be, because I'm certain that it's going to be absolutely nuts. So Tuesday, Corvette has an announcement. We all don't know what it is. I'm leaning towards it being the Zora, and it also coming out with an outrageous amount of power. Now, something there is to talk about. There is something to talk about that I have some opinions on, and everybody's on both sides of the fence with this, because this is technically it's kind of political, how people feel about the administration. It just gets back and forth, right? I'm going to try to find some middle ground and just try to understand what is going on and what could help the future of things when it comes to the automobile and the car industry in the United States and just in general, right? So the Trump administration very recently blocked a bill that California is trying to pass. California is trying to pass a bill that said by 2035, there would be no sale of gas-powered cars at all. It would only be electric and hybrid. Now, 2035 is only 10 years away. That's a short amount of time. Sounds long, but that'll pass by like that. And a variety of people and organizations, I think even SEMA got involved with blocking this bill, like blocking it from being passed, because they were just like, this is kind of ridiculous. And the Trump administration signed a bill saying, effectively blocking it, saying we're not doing this. We're going to basically allow the selling of those cars to that year. I'm sure they're going to come back to the drawing board and talk about this later. And I want to just talk about whether that was, I guess, a good idea, a bad idea, and maybe where a lot of people sit. A lot of people who don't like the administration are going to sit on the idea that it's stopping progress, or that it's going to cause further pollution and air and issues. I'm sure there's absolute facts to that, probably. Not even probably, I'm sure there's facts to it. It's just like we're sitting a rock in a hard place, right? So what do you do? What would you do in the situation where you're saying, maybe we should try to improve let's say the air quality or something? And there's been studies on both ends. There's been studies talking about that there's less environmental impact on cars that are older, that have been running because of the years of them not being replaced in the full cycle of manufacturing and the pollution that causes, then putting out new cars to then electric cars. And then what are you going to do with the battery when you're done? And we don't have a really good system of disposing of it, even though there are people that buy old used electric car parts and try to repurpose them into cars like Honda Civics and other EV project cars that are getting built. So it's kind of hard to try to figure out what to do with this stuff when it's done. And then you get to the cost. I was reading an article from Kelly Blue Book and Cox Automotive that said as of June 2nd, 2025, that the average cost of the car in America was $48,883. That's crazy. The average cost. And it's reasons why the Slate truck, when they announced it, why it got so much praise, because of how inexpensive it was on paper. We don't know what it is going to be when it finally shows up. because most cars and electric cars are not cheap. You're talking about 40,000 at the minimum range of what you're going to be able to do when it comes to electric cars. So if California comes out and says there's only going to be electric and hybrid at the end of the day, all people hear is you're taking away my options. And I'm always on the consumer side or the people side of we need to have our options, and it needs to have a plan of why this is happening or options outside of that. Everybody can't afford a brand new hybrid or an electric car, but the cost of cars in general being so high, you can almost argue on the other side saying, regardless, the price is the same. And hybrids are good. I have a hybrid in the Sienna. Hybrids were in supercars and hypercars, the LaFerrari, the P8, the P1, the 918. Those are essentially hybrid setups. So you can still have your sports cars. You still can have your performance cars with a hybrid setup. It just takes a lot for these companies to manufacture something like that. So if in 10 years, we already know that it takes much longer than that sometimes to R&D a brand new car. If these manufacturers are already in a phase of a car that they just introduced for the next 5 years, you're talking about in 10 years having something brand new to bring to the table, whether it's all electric or hybrid. It's a lot to ask. It's a lot to ask. And then the longevity of things. The longevity of things is a weird, because the lifespan of EVs sometimes say 100,000 or 300,000 miles. For gas powered, say 100,000 up to 200, 300,000 miles. How good is the maintenance? Some say the maintenance is inexpensive on new cars. Some say it's non-existent on EVs. But then if you need a battery, how much outrageous amounts of money it costs to get a new one, and how impossible it is too. And then you pretty much have a paperweight. You got a heaping pile of nothing. And then the depreciation on EVs is so high. So it's all these things back and forth working against each other. I just say that there has to be some type of middle ground where you're starting to introduce certain things. I wouldn't say stop the sales. I would say incentivize the manufacturers for introducing more of those options alongside of their normal ICE-powered options. I don't know why we have to be so hard on the cut line. However, to play devil's advocate on my own opinion, I do get why people say have a cut line, because at some point you just have to kind of flip the coin over, flip the pillow over, okay, to the cool side. We got to just flip it over. You got to put a hard line in the sand and say this is our cutoff point. It's a lot more nuanced than that. I'm not even getting into all the details of nuance, but the cost of it and the efficiency of it and what they're trying to do and what the effects would have on the used market if they were to pass the bill has to be spoken about, it, or at least acknowledged. The used market, if they were to have a bill like this in 10 years to say there's no more new gas-powered cars, the used market is going to flip on top of its head, because every single thing, in the state of California, that is. I don't know, any other state wasn't talking about the state of California, and I don't know if it was trying to be an overreaching thing to other nearby states, but let's just say in California, if you're trying to buy a used car in 2035 and the sale of brand new ICE-powered cars has been depleted, meaning up until 2035, all the new gas-powered sales have been dwindling. They're like, there's nothing left on the lot. We got hybrids and electric cars. The used market is on fire. On fire. And if you were trying to get something inexpensive on the used market, you're now facing inflated pricing, because people say, hey, you already know you can't get anything else. I'm going to upcharge you for this 2022, old pickup truck, because I know you can't get one like this again. And they're not bringing any more into the state. So you just got to fight all these different groups and capitalism and money over here. And I want to make money this way. I don't know if there's necessarily an answer to what this is, but I do say choices for consumers and respecting that option and allowing manufacturers to walk into that idea and incentivizing them could help to get to this idea. Is it the foolproof thing? I don't believe that. My own ideology, not ideology, but my own idea is that there's always some consequence. We can't just think that you can just build EVs completely and it eliminates all of our problems. A new problem is going to pop up. I don't know what it may be, but mining minerals and things they do to get those in those countries, to get those batteries and the conditions some of those people work in, is a whole other situation that we like to ignore, but it's part of the problem. So if we just flip this coin on its head and said, instead of it being oil or mining and fracking and all this, and we flipped it to being EVs, we'd have another set of problems. So there's something there. It's a give and take. Like, what do you give up and what do you take? And there's a balance in there somewhere. But I do think that we are going to get to that point in this country as well. I think California is just racing there its head. And obviously this administration, they're going to have their own ideas of what they want to do, and the next administration is going to come in there and they're going to have their own ideas on what they want to do. So it's going to be a back and forth thing until they fall down the middle ground. I'm not against the idea. I do think that it is cool to kind of throw that out there to say, hey, we're willing to do something like this in order to better serve our state or better serve our ecosystem and better serve our geology. So I'm not against that idea. I think that somebody has to jump out the window and offer something or try to force something in order for a change to happen. I don't know when it's going to take place. I do know that California has a mountain of things when it comes to the automotive industry because they're such a big leader in it, which is funny because they fight against it so much that I always find it surprising how much the aftermarket lives in California still and how much of the business part of the automotive industry is still there. And I do think, part of it is geography, the roads, the history, the ease of getting to different companies and countries and overseas. But I think they're going to work. They're going to get to something. This isn't done yet. For now, it's blocked, but we're going to come back to this. Now, keeping up with electric cars just in general, Hyundai teased, again, the Ioniq 6N sedan. And I am a fan of the Hyundai N line, from the Elantra N to the old Kona N to the Ioniq 5N and the Ioniq 6N. They're two electric cars. I have to drive one of these. I haven't driven the 5N yet, and I will. I'm going to will it into existence. But the Ioniq 6N was teased. From this picture you can see, show like a fixed wing. And I know this is going to look fire because a few episodes ago, I actually talked about the Ioniq 6 when they showed the redesign in Korea. And I was like, if the N is based off this with like a fixed wing and deeper grills and diffusers, I'm expecting this to look fire. And I'm expecting it to perform great. So the drivetrain is probably going to be the same when it's in the 5N. We're talking about a 641 horsepower electric drivetrain. Nuts, bigger brakes, Brembos. It has different drive modes. There was one mode that they have on there besides like racetrack mode or everyday driving performance mode. They had one called the Corner Rascal, which is it just sounds to me that it's something that they're doing when it comes to the handling of the car. I don't know if they're doing torque vectoring on each side of the wheels, on the front and the side to help it grip and get around corners. But the name and the mode is cool. Corner Rascal's cool. It sounds like they are really leaning in on this being a performance handling like benchmark. I don't know how much it's going to cost. If the 5N is $65,000, which is a lot of money. It's a lot of money for a brand new electric hatchback SUV type of car from Hyundai, though on paper the performance metrics of it make it a deal. So the Ioniq 6N, the sedan, we'll see what that does. That should be coming out around July, that they should be showing off the full car and the full press release. Listen, Hyundai, if you're listening to this podcast, invite your boy, please. Now, that is it. But before I get out of here, before we go, GR Corolla updates. Now, there isn't much. I already put on the little heat shield thing. I actually did a video again with people over at BeatSonic for the ShiftPower module throttle controller I have, which, again, if you haven't seen those videos or you haven't seen my YouTube channel when it comes to me modifying a GR Corolla, please go and watch it, learn a couple things, follow me vlogging and doing all those things, having a good time. But I put that part on. I shot a little quick video because I'm still partnering with BeatSonic on the affiliate side when it comes to showing off what the part can do. And it works great. I get plenty of comments and people ask me about it. I love what it does and how it transforms how the car drives. The YouTube channel is where I also host this podcast, has been growing steadily. We're over 4,000 subs now. We are moving our way up. And the podcast continues to find itself in the hands of people I never knew would be listening to it. I get emails from somebody. I can't speak on it yet, but I've gotten emails from people about this podcast, what it has done, them listening to it, people finding it, the little shorts and reels that I throw out there, gaining traction, people liking it, coming to listen to it. And that's really the whole point. The whole point of this is to me just talk about what I love, my love about cars, my love about the car industry. I'm not hitting every single point. I don't try to hit every single little thing that is going on. I just like to talk about the stuff that I quickly write down. I'm just like, this is interesting. I'm going to talk about it. And then sometimes I might get into the deeper discussions about like the bill in California and where I think it could stand and land. And I honestly just land in the middle when it comes to those things because there isn't a foolproof idea and there isn't a perfect solution. There is something that should be done, and there is something that you can do to ease into that next iteration of whatever the industry is going to be. But it takes some time, and it also involves everybody who's in the industry. I don't think that politicians should be in a vacuum of their own room, in their own meeting room, speaking to only them and one other person they consider like a car person, and not the industry as a whole collectively coming together. There's too many organizations that benefit from the jobs and the people that are in this automotive industry, in this space, that should all be coming together to speak about what's the next move and hearing each other's out on each side of the table. But until we get to that point, until we get to that new news, until we get to whatever happens next week, especially with Corvette, until we get to the 100th episode, I want y'all to do as you wish and do as you may. I'm glad you joined me. We are on a marathon. It's not going to end. We got more to come. This podcast will not stop. Next week or the week after, I might put a little break in between the 100th episode because I'm excited for it. I'm going to throw myself some balloons or something. And we're going to keep on going. So, glad you're here. I will see you next week. It's Cameron Biggs, your host. It's CarQuicks Podcast. Take care of yourselves. Peace.